Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. As you know, this is the day of the week that we interview our amazing authors that are in the Change Book. And this is the Change Book International podcast. I am Nicole Harvick. I am your host. And today we have another amazing author, and it's Ellis Kirkpatrick. So, Ellis, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be here.
I am very glad that you're here because she told me about a mishap they had with a bull. So we're very, very lucky to be talking to her today. So tell us why you chose the Change Book.
I actually didn't know anything about it before someone mentioned it to me. And I thought, that sounds like a really good project. I like working with other authors, doing a collaborative book, because when you're done, you've got this amazing book with all these different ideas and minds, and everybody's just coming together on, a common topic or a common theme, but everybody's so unique and individual that they get to share what it means to them. And I think that's the best part. We're giving the reader something more than a book about one thing. It's like a lot of little books all together. It is
great. And because I've done several before I did the Change Book. The Change Book was my last one, but you meet so many people. Mm-hmm. And I like that part as well, that you kind of bond while you're doing the book and while you're getting it published and then the bestseller. Now, how many have you written other than the Change Book?
Oh, I have 37 books right now, and 28 are #1 international best-selling books.
Wow. Now, how in the world do you find time to do that? How did you find time to do that many books? Because I've got a list here of other things you do, so we know you're not just an author.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, this is not something I've done since childhood. I mean, I always liked the idea of writing a book, or I'd write poetry, and I submitted, when I was in school to, local magazine or local article, and it was kind of cool to be published. But to write a whole book, I would get one paragraph, and that's had everything in it I wanted to say, and it's like, well, that's not enough.
That's not quite a book.
Yeah. So for me, I started out just telling my grandchildren stories. And then they wanted to hear the same story again. And it's like, well, I just made it up. I have no idea what I said. 2 weeks later, I don't know what it was. So I started using nursery rhymes that I grew up with. Only I would substitute their names for it and some of the things that they liked. And then it was easy to remember what I told them. And when we moved away from them because of my husband's job, then I would try to tell him on the phone. It just wasn't the same. So I started writing them down. And then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to do one of those little Vistaprint, Shutterfly books and put my own pictures with it? Because I take lots of photographs, thousands of them. And so I did that, and they loved it. They made great gifts, and please, take this and use for your own families. And they do. They make great gifts. I would make one copy for me so we could read them together over the phone or because it's not always possible to do video chats. Most of us live in rural areas.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I think you make time for what's important for you. As a coach and publisher myself, helping people get their books written, the biggest thing I hear is I don't have time and I don't know where to start. Well, we talk it through, we find time, and you need to make sure that set it as a priority. It's like, okay, I have 15 minutes every Monday to write, and just, you'd be amazed at what you can get done in 15 minutes. But it's just finding where the time is, making it a priority in your life, and it's really not that hard. Get a hold of
and if it means, if it means something to you, you want to get it out. One of my biggest healing journeys was kind of coming face to face with my divorce and writing about that.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't a negative way, but it was an empowering way to make, and it kind of changed it, how I looked at it from then on. I
Awesome.
reframed what I thought it was, and it became something entirely different. Have you ever found that before?
Oh, yeah. I was invited to write in back to back, just the way that it happened. And I don't think anything is a coincidence. I think things happen for a reason. And so I was invited in this one book, and it was talking about the toxic relationships, what to do, and all of that. But I didn't want to give power to the negative that happened. So when I wrote about things like these were signs that I ignored, or that I didn't realize that's what they were. And these were ways that I was able to break out of that, how it happened. And so I tell my story without actually really revealing a lot, because everybody has great imaginations, this. And I think what people really look for are, how is this going to help me? How is this going to get me to where I want to be? So I kind of looked at it from the readers.
Oh, interesting.
Point from where they would be. And so both of those books opened up this whole world to me. And I didn't realize that I was still letting some of the things that happened, I was carrying it on my shoulders. And it happened to be that we finally found our own place here to live. So we were hauling everything from Idaho down to Texas, and we had 2 big U-Hauls totally full. So I'm driving mine. As I'm driving, I'm thinking about the book, what to do. And it's like I just hear this voice say, why are you carrying this burden on you? It does not belong to you.
Wow.
And it's like, huh. I didn't realize I was doing that. Yeah. It's like, okay, so that puts a different twist on things. And it really is a way to free yourself of things that maybe you didn't realize you were carrying. As the lead author in the first or the second book said, you're peeling off layers like an onion. You're just peeling off layers. And you may not realize there's still another layer to peel off. And it's not that it's a bad thing to have these layers. They're just, it's just a process that you go through. And when I left that relationship, I left. I didn't want to stay in it. I didn't want to keep thinking about it. I didn't want to keep hashing it over. In fact, at the women's shelter that I was going to for counseling at the time, the gal said, I don't understand how you can do this. And I thought, okay, what am I doing now? She goes, you've only been here for a month and you have made so much progress. I've got women that have been here 10, 20 years that are like one day apart from when they first started. And I said, well, I don't really know the answer to that. I just know I don't want to stay where I'm at. And that's really what the key is. You want to move forward. You don't want to keep all of that going on in you. So you need to find ways to get through it and keep going. And and then there were things I didn't realize I needed. I didn't know that I needed to heal myself from what had gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really talked about it when I went through my divorce and stuff. People were just starting to really open up about toxic relationships and all of this other stuff. It just wasn't there. But the great thing about anthologies is you get to read all these other amazing stories, and it opens up your eyes to how others look at things and to what's possible out there. And maybe there's something you didn't recognize. And that goes for anything, not just toxic relationships, like, the Giving book you see behind me here, already starting volume 5. This is an anthology of a different kind, to where artists, photographers, illustrators, you write memoirs. There's stories you've always wanted to tell, but you don't have enough for full book yourself, or maybe you just want to see what it's like to write in a book and see if it's something you want to pursue. My first 3 books actually have 3 authors and all of them, and they are now writing their own book. In fact, one of them went on to write her own anthology. And
how interesting. Yeah.
it's just been an incredible experience to open up doors for other people, to give them a chance to experience something, because sometimes we really want to do something, but we don't want to take that huge risk to do it. And so here's a way to kind of dip your toe in the water, so to speak,
Right.
and find out if it's something that you really like. And I try to make it an enjoyable experience, because there's too many out there that don't make it enjoyable.
Yeah, I've had that as well. But, one of the things I realized is when I first got divorced, I was very embarrassed by it because there was cheating on his end. And I was like, I can't talk about that. I don't want anybody to know that.
Yeah.
And then I started realizing that, well, first of all, you never know who you're going to impact with your story.
Absolutely.
And help. And I thought, if I can help someone with my story, it would be selfish of me not to. So that's kind of how I got over the hump. And I had a lady, this was years ago, when I was in Arizona, but she said, "Did you ever think you'd be an inspiration to someone?" And I said, I didn't even think I could get this out there to anybody. So thank you so much for that. That means so much. But no, that never even crossed my mind. Something like that.
And it's amazing when we write something, we really don't know how it's going to impact anybody else. And for a lot of women, it's terrifying to tell their story, because those people are still alive and they're going to read it.
Especially if you have kids too, you have to work around that.
Absolutely. And I think maybe that's the biggest reason why I haven't, just written a book about my story, is one, I don't want to give it the energy, because there was not really much good about it, except I've got these wonderful children and grandchildren now. But I don't have permission from my kids to tell the story, and I have to tell part of their story in order to tell mine. And it's not fair to do that to them. So it's like, there's lots of other things to write about. I don't have to write about that. There's more to me than this one incident that happened. And, Les Brown, wonderful, wonderful man. He writes the foreword to the Change books. And I was in a meeting with him when I first started getting into this world of entrepreneurship. He said, everybody has a story. And I thought, I don't have a story. I don't have this traumatic event that changed my life. I don't have this illness that happened. I don't have this that happened. And it's like, the more I thought about it, I began to realize I don't have one huge story. I have a lot of little stories that make up my life. And those are amazing stories. And when I start talking to somebody, something will trigger, oh yeah, I remember, when this happened when I was a kid, or recently when I got knocked down by the bull.
I will wait for that story. I know when you told me that, I'm like, you're kidding, right? Coming from someone who never has lived on a farm.
Yeah, and it's usually you do everything you can to avoid, being around a bull. We need bulls so we can have calves, so we can continue the line of it. But you just kind of need to set things up a little different than what we were trying. And it's like,
you know what? And it's just like everything else. You live and learn, right? And that's
hopefully you live.
Yeah, you did. Thank goodness, because I would have had to get another guest. No,
that's right. You live.
But I'm so glad you're here. Now, you talk about doing coaching as well. Are you a writing coach?
Yes, I do. And I found out that being a writing coach, I also became a life coach.
Oh, okay. How did that transform into that?
Yeah, but There's a lot of limiting beliefs that we have, and thankfully to all of my coaches and my mentors, and reading books by like Jim Rohn and Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale and all of those. There's just so much to learn about our own brains and how they work, and hearing people say, oh, I can't do this, or this is frustrating me. And it's like, well, okay, let's just stop. Why is the story frustrating you? What's happening there? Is it something that's going on at home so they don't have the energy to put into their story? Or is it something in the story that isn't quite right? And I find that writers, when they have a block, when something, they just can't seem to get past this one thing to get to the next chapter, and they know what they want to write, but it's like, I says, okay, so let's read it. Let's find out what's going on. And a lot of times just taking that step back, they realize, I didn't realize this one little thing that I thought didn't matter was actually stopping me from moving forward. And so, you just talk about it. I have a client right now. She's so sweet. She is writing her first children's book, and she found out she doesn't like writing children's books. I was like, that's okay.
Yeah.
You found out. She wants to finish it. We're going to finish it, and that's a good thing. But she found out it's not what she really wanted to do. And so sometimes as you're going through this process, it's like, okay, I find out I don't like this, but that's okay, because now I found out what I really do like. And you keep
Isn't
going
that interesting?
that.
Yeah. So then she'll just pivot when she's done with this to.
Yeah. And that's the key thing right there is finish, even though this isn't what you like, finish it up. And sometimes that's really hard to do. That's why you need a coach. You need someone to be accountable for, someone to help you finish up when you don't want to. Because otherwise, I think what happens is we tend to leave things unfinished, and we don't want those open loops. We want to close those loops. So, if nothing else, get a ghostwriter and have them finish it. But, finish it. And ghostwriters are great. I just talking with one this morning.
Yeah.
And wonderful.
Do you ever advise people to use like ChatGPT or any AI, or do you have them just try to formulate it in their head?
I haven't had that come up. Now, I will say with my own experience, I thought, I have this really great idea for a children's book. I'm just going to test it out and ask ChatGPT to write this children's book for me. There's not that many words depending on the age of the children that you're writing for. And so I put down the idea. I told the things I wanted to be in the book, how I wanted the story to flow and what I wanted it to be like. And ChatGPT came up with this great story. I didn't like it though.
Oh, really?
I liked the story. It was a good story, but it didn't have that personal heart in it.
That's what I was just going to say. ChatGPT has no heart. And that's our new truth center. That's where everything needs to flow through. So I wondered about that. Yeah. I mean, it's great for certain things, but
and it can help you. I have a double check my grammar and my spelling. I say, don't change anything. Just check the spelling and grammar. And if there's something that needs changed, ask me first. So, you have to give it instructions. You got to remember it's real easy to forget that it's not another person you're talking to, because, you be polite to it. You treat it as if it was another person, and you have this interaction going on. But at some point you realize, you can tell this is just all computer generated, and it's too easy to let the computer do it and say, oh yeah, that's good, and put your name on it. Do you really want your name on something like that? Right. I mean, it's great to have it for advice. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I don't know what to do, and ask me some questions. Maybe, this is I want this word to really have power, but I can't get it to work with this. So there's ways you can use it to help enhance what you're doing. And it's kind of like makeup for women. And I'm sorry, I don't have any on today. I'm not.
You look gorgeous.
But the makeup is to enhance the beauty that's already there. And so Chat, GPT, AI, all of that is there to help enhance what you're already doing. If you want something to write it for you, hire a ghostwriter. They're really great at what they do. They come up with something that's amazing, and it's in your voice and how you would say it. And everything. Tools, ChatGPT, AI is a tool. Tools have their use. You want a hammer to pound in a nail. You don't want a hammer to pound in a screw. Get a screwdriver. You have to use the right tool for what you're doing.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Great analogy. Now, also, you're with everything else you do, you are an inspirational speaker.
Yeah, I love to.
I mean, I can, as we're talking, I can see why you are. What do you have one certain thing you talk about, or is it, open-ended?
I do, and someone pointed it out to me, and it's like, again, that aha moment. It's like, you're right, I do that. So I talk about hope.
Oh,
and I do it in a huge variety of ways, and I don't even realize that I do it. It's just who I am. I've got a talk coming up this Saturday. Diana Sequali is just amazing. She asked me to, almost 6 months ago, to be a part of this talk on Saturday. And it's talking about faith over fear. And I had this great talk all laid out. It was just wonderful. Told some of my history and all of this. And I'm like, that just doesn't cut it. It's just not right. So, wait till the last minute. I don't usually do that. I like to have everything ahead of time. But part of me doing things ahead of time means I've got time to go back and look at it. And if I need to change it, I can. So I did. So I've changed the talk I was going to go with. And now I have this amazing story. I absolutely love it. It's just wonderful. But it is talking about stepping through your fear, and that fear is there. It can, I personally look at fear as a hologram. It's there, it's big, it's in your face. It's just terrifying sometimes, but it's a hologram. You just step right through it and it's gone.
I believe that as well.
Unplug it. It's not there.
Yeah, and I believe it's just part of the matrix we're in. And if you create fear, you kind of control the outcome. People just get. And to me, it's like, if it happens, nothing we can do about it. Why be afraid of it? You sit there and just sit in your house because you're afraid.
Very good. Yeah. So I actually use the analogy of what just happened. There I am. Every time I go outside, I look to see if the bull is looking for me.
Seeking you out.
That's right. It's like, and if it looks at me, okay, I'm going back in the house. And it's like, that's no way to live. I went out to the pasture. The bull's on across a second fence. Can't get to me, but I was terrified. I mean, I had true panic, and I'm clutching my chest, holding on to my heart, trying not to freak out. And I'm talking with my husband because the bull knocked my glasses off. I've got these spares that are all scratched up. It's like, we can't find my glasses. We don't know where they went. They went flying somewhere. But I actually had to come in the house and close the door. And I'm sitting on my chair, just holding me, trying to calm me down. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, because what it does is it freezes my power to think and to be intuitive, to know what to do. So if the bull comes at me, what am I going to do? Just freeze and fall on the ground automatically?
Yeah. That's a perfect way to put it too. Yeah.
And I thought, why am I letting this fear cripple me, cause me to have this panic attack, which actually does damage inside of my body, keeping me from thinking clearly and being able to use my brain when I need it? And when people panic, they don't think clearly. They can't stop and say, all right, what's the best course of action? That bull's looking at me. He's getting ready to charge me. And I'm thinking, okay, what's the best course of action? I want to go to the fence and jump out out of the little corral that we're in. But if I do that, I'm going to be full on straight in front of him.
Ooh.
And if I step to the left too far, I'm going to get hit with his horn. And I don't want to get gored because I know that can be really bad. So as he's taking, and it's all going so fast because it's only like a couple of steps before he gets to me. He was that close. And I just kind of shifted a little bit to the left. So I got caught between his head and his horn right there. And even though it hurt and it hit me, I know it was a better choice to make. Now, if I'd been panicking, who knows what I would have done? Maybe I would have tried running, and that would have been really bad. Maybe, I would have stepped right in front of him. Who knows what I would have done?
I think that could be your next book. How I survived the horns.
I told my husband I'm getting him a T-shirt that has me, cartoon of holding up a bull with its feet tied up on this rope and saying, "I saved my husband from a bull attack."
I'm a hero. Yeah, absolutely. And, I know we're getting towards the end of our time, but before I want you to talk about your podcast, Wisdom from the Front Porch. It sounds very interesting to me.
It is. It's actually Wisdom on the Front Porch. And I had a lot of people help me get the right wording for the title. And I love front porches. You have great conversations with it. Absolutely.
I know. It's almost a thing of the past, and it makes me so sad.
Yeah. And it's like, and I had to explain this to someone in the UK because they don't have front porches. And they go, well, and I could see the confusion. I says, let me tell you what front porches are here in America. This is where everybody sits. You can see what's going on in the world around you. This is where you sit with your grandma and shell peas or peel peaches or apples for making pies later. This is where everybody gathers to have conversations. When you come to visit relatives, you're on the front porch and you're talking about all kinds of things. You hear the stories of your moms and dads and aunts and uncles as they grew up and what they went through and the decisions and the choices they made, and front porches don't have to be an actual porch. It can be standing in line at the grocery store, talking to the UPS man that brings you the package and you ask him how his day going and you get to talking. It's just where you're sharing ideas and sharing that communication, which I think a lot of us are starting to lack now. We don't really know how to talk with each other and what to say. And you don't have to get in deep conversations. Maybe you're just sitting on the porch playing your instruments together, and right now, you and I, we're sitting on our front porch in the podcast, talking about it and sharing about it.
And it's easy.
Yeah. And I was actually going to do a book called Wisdom on the Front Porch. And I just had the title, the cover, didn't have anything else. And it turned into a podcast and it's turned into a magazine. And so it's there to help entrepreneurs help other entrepreneurs on their journey, giving you real tools, getting into the meat and potatoes. Well, why does this work and this doesn't work? How can my journey help another entrepreneur on their journey? And I love where it goes. And I meet the most amazing people. I met Matthew Lesko, who wanted to be on my podcast, which when I realized who it was, it's like, oh, are you kidding me? Because I used to watch him on TV when my babies were little. And he would talk about how the government has all this money and you can get, I've got this big, thick, huge book. Now it's all on the internet, so you don't have to do that great big book. But it's there to help people. If you've got mold in your home, this is where you can go to help get rid of it without having to clean out your bank account. And,
that's awesome. I need to find that one about mold.
Okay. Yeah, Matthew Lesko, look him up.
Okay, no, that's amazing. I mean, and it makes so much sense because we're just, we've lost, but from the time we started on the phones. I mean, you go to a restaurant and people are, their phone is right in front of their face. I never let my kids bring it to the table ever. It's like, oh no. And of course they ate really fast and got up. I tried.
But it makes a difference. It's amazing. I was just talking with someone who was on a women's retreat, and she said everybody had to put their phone in the basket. It's there for emergencies. If somebody's trying to get a hold of you or something, it's there. But they didn't have their phones for the whole weekend. And they said,
Ooh.
It was incredible, absolutely incredible to unplug. I didn't realize how much we needed to do that. I
think
loved
that's a
hearing
great
that.
idea.
And I know there's some churches, it's like your phone is here, you pick it up after service. Some of us, I use my phone for my Bible, so I don't have to carry my Bible in there with me, and it's on there. But sometimes they're distracting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Short side note here. I remember when our watches started beeping all the time, and you'd be in church, and all of a sudden all these watches would go off, especially at noon.
Yeah,
over, let's go.
I know. That's so funny.
And phones and everything.
That is true. But you know what? This has been an amazing conversation with you. And that's what I love about being the host of this is I learn from every single person. And it's an absolutely amazing way to start my Monday. So I want to thank you for being here, of course, especially after your trauma and drama. But I want everybody to reach out to Ellis because she's got so much wisdom and knowledge. And we do have some links in her bio. I would love for you to get a hold of her. And Ellis, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your stories. I appreciate you. And one of the things I love to do is keep up with the authors. So down the road, I would love to get a hold of you and have you do another one and just to see where you're at. And that helps people understand how the change book, how we work as a collective. I love that.
Oh, yeah. It's just the best thing. If anybody's thinking about writing, the change book is a great way to do that. I love that you do more than just, okay, you write a book and let's go on, but you have the website, you've got Facebook where everybody connects and you can talk with each other, and it's amazing. Just, you and Jim have great advice, and I love working with you, Nicole. It's just amazing.
You are so sweet. I appreciate that. So, well, you take care, and everybody, please reach out to this amazing lady. She has got some knowledge that knocks your socks off. So everyone, thank you for being here, and I will be back next Monday with another amazing author. Take care, everyone.